Hey guys, Chris here. In this video, we are doing the 10 to 80% charging time and charging speed test in the brand new model year 24 Volvo C40 with the upgraded battery pack. With the upgraded battery pack comes faster charging. According to the PDF that the press office in Norway sent me from Volvo, the peak charging speed should be 200 kilowatts and no time on the 10 to 80%. But I think I remember from the launch, and also, well, Google it, so I found an article, 205 kilowatts of peak charging speed and 10 to 80% in 28 minutes. That is what we are going to put to the test today. And I remember that this platform, the Volvo XC40 before the C40 came out, was one of the first cars I did this 10 to 80% charging time and charging speed test with, and I critiqued it heavily because they launched the car in winter and it didn't have preconditioning or preheating. And I think like the charging time was supposed to be like 35 to 38 minutes. Somewhere was the claimed charging time around that. And the actual charging time was like closer to like 45 or 48 minutes. It was much more terrible. But this car since then, well, that car got a software update for faster charging. This car has, that same, well, not the same software update because this is a brand new battery pack, but another update that car got a few years ago, preconditioning. So we preconditioned, driven on the motorway before we came to this charger and drove the car down to 8% state of charge. So at 8% now, we're gonna drive to the charger over here. We're gonna connect. I'll see you guys after the time lapse.
Let me go, let me go. I can't keep on doing this no more. All alone, all alone. We cannot go back to love, no, no. But it's back and forth and it's up and down sometimes, sometimes. And I think it's time that we cross that final line. Oh, I think it's time to see the other side, the other side. 'Cause I just gotta get you out my mind, out of my mind. I think it's time to see the other side, the other side.
Before we jump into the charging curve, the results, and see where this car ranks now on the chart compared to before and also compared to the competition, I just want to give a huge thanks to today's video sponsor, Elton, which is the most awesome charging app if you live in the Nordics, Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Denmark, because one charging app, one charging interface, one payment method will let you charge at almost all charge point operators in all of these countries. For example, this Circle K charger I used for charging in this test. So it's pretty awesome, starting it easily with the app. And with these Circle K chargers, you just disconnect it and then it will pop up in the list to show you which one you disconnected, and then you just press it. Super easy, super simple, and if you live in any of these countries, I would highly recommend you guys to download it because it's going to make your life so much easier traveling and living with an electric car. Now, let's take a look at the charging curve. And I don't have a visual representation like you guys have on screen now. I just have my notes here from when I was watching the charging session. But, I could decipher this very easily. And I see that this is still like before with the CMA platform cars. That's this, the XC40 and the Polestar 2. The charging curve is a little bit strange. It's a little bit weird. It's not as weird as, the first cars, which had like a zigzaggy charging curve. This is like steps. It steps down and it's kind of, flat, and then it steps down and it stays flat, which is interesting and nice to know. A Tesla will have, a negative linear curve, or a linear negative curve, whatever it's called. It will start high and it would just, for every percentage, it will just step down and step down and step down. It looks like this. This is the same, it just looks different. The results are the same. And I have to say, we reached a peak charging speed of 200 105 kilowatts. So that is amazing. That is amazing. We didn't have to do anything else than just, well, I've been driving today, doing a range test, and then just, navigate to these chargers. No problem at all. Hit it right away. And we had that speed all the way up to 17%. So not a very long time, but this car is able to get that charging speed from this battery pack voltage and being this size because of the CCS standard that allows 500 amps for a short burst of time. So this is how it gets that 205 kilowatts, and then when we're at 17%, just a few minutes, it steps down to 400 amps, and then we get, a more, well, flatter charging curve for a longer amount of time, and that is 184 kilowatts, which is still very good. We get that to 32%. So instead of like 10 to 17, getting that 205, we get it from 17 to 32%. And then it steps down again to 157 kilowatts. We have that all the way up to 44%. And then it steps down again to 141 kilowatts, and we have that to 51%. So basically we have 141 kilowatts plus till over 50%, which is much better than before. And it's quite nice. I would have wished they could just, pushed it a little bit more, a little bit higher speed, but the 10 to 50% time is pretty good. We're going to talk about that after we go through the rest of the charging curve. And then it just steps down, and then, once we get to like 70%, we're at below 100 kilowatts. We're at like 99 to 70, 1%, and then it's like 90 kilowatts, and then it goes all the way down to 48 kilowatts. So 70 to 80 and 75 to 80 is really, really slow in this car. So 10 to 50%, 13 minutes. Pretty impressive. I think I remember driving a Tesla Model 3 standard range a few years ago, having like 10 to 50% in around that time, and we were like, this is pretty good. So 10 to 50% is strategically a really nice, place to charge this car if you're going on a longer trip. And also 10 to 70% is 22.5 minutes. 10 to 75% is 26 minutes. But you guys are here because you want to know if this managed to do 10 to 80% in 28 minutes as Volvo claim. No, it didn't do it in 28 minutes, but it did it in 31 minutes. It did it in 31 minutes, which is 3 minutes more. It's about 10% longer, slower than Volvo said. It's not too bad, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe the battery was too warm from driving. I don't know what it was. Maybe I'll do this again and try to observe, but if it's 28 minutes or 31 minutes, that isn't much of a difference. Because I think the sweet spot of this car is 10 to 50 or 10 to 70%. If you're going a long trip, 10 to 70% in 22.5 minutes, which is 8.5 minutes shorter than going that, remaining 70 to 80%. And what's interesting, before we hop into the chart and see where this ranks, 10 to 80% in 31 minutes, but the car was estimating us 80 to 100% in another 50 minutes. So you don't want to go above 80% with this car. You don't even want to go above 75 or 70%. Okay, look at the chart, guys. You can see that this car actually does pretty decent compared to the other cars. It ranks pretty high, and the cars that are higher are almost only 800 volt architecture cars and dedicated EV platforms. So this, going from a car that did very poorly in the past, with these updates, the improved range and efficiency and the bigger battery and the faster charging, it has substantially improved on this chart. And if you look to the right, you can see the column that says, kilometers per hour, miles per hour, kilometers per minute, etc. And that's how we rank these cars, because the time from 10 to 80% isn't really that relevant. What is relevant is the miles or kilometers you gain per hour of charging. And even though this charged quite slow from 70 to 80%, that's those last 10% in this test, it actually did pretty decent. 758 kilometers of gained range per hour of charging, which is better than, some of the beasts of charging, like the first generation e-tron before the facelift, before they called it the Q8, which had just like a super flat charging curve, 150 kilowatts from like 10 to 79%, just beast of a charging speed. This, because it is more efficient, it does better, even though it charges slowly where that car charges fast. I think, and maybe in the future I'm gonna, do different charge. I think if this was a 10 to 50% charging time and charging speed test, or 10 to 70%, this would do substantially better. It would be amongst the very best. And if you look at the last time I tested a Tesla Model 3, that's the car I was talking about earlier, that standard range LFP, this does better than that, which is amazing, or at least as good. I don't know, I don't have the chart in front of me now because I'm talking to the camera. But I think it's like either a little bit better or a little bit worse. And that is impressive. That's a Tesla Model 3, like known for fast charging and known for great efficiency. So huge improvement, huge improvement. And yeah, I don't have more to say than that. Like, I'm impressed. This is great. Going the right direction for, yeah, electric cars. So guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please drop me a thumbs up down below. And for more car content, as always, please subscribe. See you guys there, and goodbye.